go to either one of the meetings?
No.
So we'll pull your number.
No, I can go, but I mean, there's seats available. I was sitting talking about the other day. It was about 9,000 seats.
It's good.
Yeah.
We're waiting.
And of course,
Hey, quick
Trump
question.
gets it out of his lab. He goes 3 days, he's already back in the White House.
Saturday, 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock Saturday morning. No.
Yes.
Talk to me more. Okay, I call to order our Guthrie Special Public Works Authority meeting workshop. Item number 2, we are in opening up public hearing to discuss the proposed improvements to the wastewater treatment system and alternatives. Leroy, are you taking it or Tenny taking it?
I'm gonna start it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
We'll start out with the first 2 items on our agenda. Number 2 is a public hearing to discuss the proposed improvements to the wastewater system and alternatives to those proposed improvements, associated cost, environmental impact. Once we close the public hearing, then you all will consider a resolution approving the environmental information document for the proposed project. I think we only have one individual in the audience tonight that hasn't already heard this, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail unless you want to know everything about it. We did publish a notice of the public hearing, and that outlines the purpose of the public hearing. Talks a little bit about our plant. If you looked it up online, let's see, my little red dot, oops. Red dot. If you look it up on the website, the environmental information document, it's a very long document, that's the first page of it. But it is out on our city website if you choose to look it up. Revised schedule for our project. Some of the important dates, of course, tonight we're having the public hearing and authorized going out for bids at the end of this agenda. But October 12th, we will have the completion of the document for finding of no significant impact. And that's what you want to do when you do an environmental review. If you have no impact, you move forward. And then on November 12th will be the end of the 30-day comment period for the finding of significant impact. That has to occur before we can have the approval of the loan from OWRB. So those are 2 critical dates that we can't miss. Those dates have slid a little bit, but we need to stick to those dates in order to get through the process to get our loan in December 16th. On December 1st City Council meeting, you will do final approval to borrow the funds. We plan to open bids on the project on December 2nd. Final permit for construction December 7th. Final discharge permit modification issuance December 7th. We plan to go to OWRB December meeting to get the loan approved. December 15th, City Council will consider awarding the construction contract for the wastewater treatment plant. December 16th, we'll close on the $8 million of the $16 million we're borrowing. And on January 4th, we will go back and close the other $8 million. Roughly February of next year, start construction. It's an 18 to 24 month construction period. This is just a comparison of some of the parameters of the 1955 wastewater treatment plant compared to the new one. The big thing, it's designed for 1.5 million gallons a day, peak storm flow. The old one's 4 million, this one will be 17 or 7 million. Again, I won't go through this in a lot of detail because you've seen this a few weeks ago. But I'll be glad to answer questions as we go. Just briefly, our existing sewer plant sits here. It is actually in the floodway. The flood maps weren't done at the time that plant was located, but they were done later, and it was determined not only is it in the floodplain, it's actually in the floodway. So we will not want to rebuild there, probably couldn't. All of the sewer from the community comes here to a collection point. We will take that over to the new site, and this is the site of the new plant. You will be entertaining offers to easements, and those easements will be for one line to take the raw sewage from this collection point, tap into it, take it over to the new plant. Part of that will be force main, and then also the easements will be for the line that takes the effluent once it's treated back to the discharge point. And there will be a easement for a lift station as well.
For what?
Lift station,
Oh, okay.
to put it into the force main. Existing plant was built in 1955. It's pretty much reached the end of its life cycle. These are all of the things that need to be addressed relative to the existing plant.
How many people was our original plant built for?
That I don't know. Bill, do you?
Probably about 9,000 or 10,000.
This is the layout of the new facility, and we have provided area within this facility to add for future expansion, more equipment in this area to grow it. Again, it is for a population of 14,000. Bear in mind, we're at 11, but not everybody in town, that 11's on wastewater treatment or sewer system. It is a activated sludge back reactor plant. Future expansion, a good question that came up at our last meeting. We talked about it. If we were to add that additional area, it would be a scenario of population of just under 29,000. Also visiting with Myers Engineering, I think you probably asked the question, Cheryl, last time about the new industrial park. If it builds out, will it have the capacity to serve it? And Bill went and looked at other industrial parks with the type of clients we would have, and yes, it would serve our industrial park if it was fully built out. Ultraviolet disinfection. Our discharge point, again, will be at the same point it is now. And the reason is, it's just almost the same cost to take it back to our current discharge location at the old plant than it is to approve and build a new discharge location. And the requirements that we have to meet in permitting will be less at the where we discharge in the river now versus if we do a new location, because there's additional flow at that location because of the creek going in. Our additional operating cost is about $350,000 additional O&M, and we have funded for that. The construction estimate is $16.8 million. We have asked Myers Engineering, when we put this out for bids, to do some alternates, like the entry road, just in case bids come in higher than we anticipate. At least we want to make sure that base bid is under that 17 million mark, so we can do our two loans in January and December and get the project started. And then if we have to go back and figure out some of the other things, we'll have some time to do that. So we will bid it with alternates, just to cover ourselves in case our estimate is a little bit off. The cost is 16.8. Sludge box and dewatering, we had estimated $335,000. When at 7 o'clock we get in the next meeting, we are going to reject or recommend rejecting those bids and reevaluating that particular project. Our funding sources again is a $16 million loan from the Oklahoma Water Resources Board. We have been setting aside funding in a wastewater treatment fund, and we will have just under 1.2 million in there. And then our operating costs, we have budgeted in our current year additional O&M so that we know we will have that funding available when the plant comes online, that we will be able to pay for the additional operating costs. So it's already built in this next year's budget. $16 million, a little over $3 million in interest. It is backloaded, the payment schedule, as some of our current bond issues retire. The biggest one, the water plant. As those retire, then our payment is structured around those debt service retiring to pay it off, and this is an 18-year note structure. I went through that fairly quickly because we had already presented this to you at one point, and I didn't want to just stand up here and repeat everything again that you saw just a few weeks ago. But I would be glad to answer questions if they're technical in nature. Either Tenny Baker or Bill Myers will come up to address them.
Okay, thank you, Leroy. Are there any questions from the council? Or this is a public hearing. Any questions from the general public? Hearing none, I'll close our public hearing. Move on to item number 3. Discussion and possible action to approve resolution 2020-17. Leroy, that's yours.
It's just a resolution to take action after the public hearing to approve the environmental information document, the document that's out on the website if you want to look at it. You're approving that so that we can move the project forward.
Okay. Any questions from council? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous approval for the, moving forward on the environmental information document for the wastewater treatment plant. Item number 4, discussion possible action to approve the offer to purchase some acreage from CMO Energy Partners.
Wasn't done with that one. You'll give us just a second.
Okay?
I wasn't quite finished with that. Because the borrowing the funds through OWRB, we have to follow the U.S. Uniform Acquisition and Relocation Act as we purchase easements. And so we have retained a firm later on in the city council meeting. You'll be seeing some easements for Pine Street, same thing. Those are federal funds. We have to follow that process as well. So this will be approved offer letters based on the determination of value of these easements. And as I indicated earlier, it's for the lines to take the raw wastewater over to the new plant and then the effluent back to the discharge. The first one is a 30-foot sanitary sewer line easement from CMO Energy Partners, and the offer is $500. And I'll go through all of these at one time, and then you can either act on them individually or collectively, whichever you choose to do. Item number 5 is 2 items, same owner, Davis Farms, and one of them is for lift station, the one on the right, and the other one is for a permanent easement for one of the lines. And number 6, again, is a 30-foot sanitary sewer easement on the Rodman property, $500. And item 7, again, is part of the lines between the 2 facilities, 2.06 acres on the Stitchcomb. I may not be pronouncing that right, $9,300. So those are the easements that we will need for the new wastewater treatment plant.
I move to approve all.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve items 4, 5, 6, and 7, which is procurement of property from CMO Energy Partners, Davis Farms, LJ Rodman, and Larry Kent Stitchcomb. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I got a couple questions.
Okay.
In reading these, you know, it'll say the price was 500 and 405 was damages. What's that mean?
That part was confusing to me too.
It's been a long time since I've been involved in appraisals for buying property using federal funds, but it's a process they go through, and I can look it up and email you if you want me to, but I don't remember how they come about that, but there's a combination of ways they look at it to determine the price.
It doesn't really affect my bearing, it's just for my education.
I will try to send out to the city council in the next couple of days an explanation of how that works.
And are these, they already talked to the landowner, or this is what we're offering to pay?
The way the traditional process works, before they even go look or appraise them, they send a letter to the landowners and notify them that we're going to pursue easements.
The letter
across
that's
the
shown in
property.
here.
So they should be fully aware of this. They may not be aware of the offer letter yet because you're just approving that. These offer letters will go to them. It's not mandatory they accept it. I mean, they could ask for more, and then you get into negotiation process and Of course, you always try to negotiate close to the fair market value.
Yeah.
If you can't negotiate, then you always have the last resort of eminent domain or condemnation, where you go through that process through the court. But you only do that as the last resort if you can't work out the purchase price with the property owners.
Well, I saw the letter in there, but I wasn't clear as to,
They should already
They've
be
already-
aware. They should have been notified from our firm that we retained to purchase it. That's the first step, is to notify the property owners. And they get a little booklet on how the process works in that notification.
So what we're voting on is just the offer, to
Correct.
go ahead and present the offer.
Correct. And if they accept, then you won't see it again. If it's a negotiation process and we end up offering more, then it will probably come back to you again for final approval.
Okay, all right. Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve items, the procurement of land identified in items 4, 5, 6, and 7. All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous approval then to move forward with those offers. Item number 8, discussion possible action to reject bid 2020-11. Leroy.
We originally had estimated that the sludge box and sludge removal was going to be a little over $300,000. When we opened bids, we were off. I think if you look at the sludge box, the lowest bid there is about $472. And then the holding pond sludge removal, about $125. So that's almost $600,000, where we had originally estimated $300,000. We were off on those estimates. One of the things we thought we were really needed to do this, because we didn't know exactly when we would get under construction with the new facility, and we were up against trying to make sure we could get our permit renewed for our existing facility while we were working things out. Now that we're so close to construction of our new facility, we have some other options available to us that we think, more portable equipment and stuff, that we can bring this price down. So we would like to reject these bids for bid 2020-11 and look at re-engineering that and have a more cost-effective approach than this approach.
So have we determined why we were so far off on our estimate versus what came in? I mean, those bids look like they're fairly central, at least 3 of them are fairly centralized.
I don't know that we've got a detailed explanation. I mean, we clearly underestimated the cost, and the engineer was a low bid on this project.
I think we ought to award it to that engineer then.
That would be one option.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the rejection of the bid, and it's been seconded. Any other discussion from the council? Okay, all in favor of rejecting these bid, raise your right hand. Unanimous approval then to reject that bid and move forward with the next part of the process. Item number 9 is the
And
next
item
step.
number 9 is simply to authorize city staff to solicit bids for the wastewater treatment plant project. Of course, the bids will come back to you for consideration, but this is giving us the authorization to go ahead and advertise for the bids.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous approval then to authorize the staff to move forward to solicit bids as identified. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned, and Our next meeting will start in approximately 35 minutes.